Good evening, everyone. I hope you are having a fabulous Friday night. And as promised, I am back for night 3 out of 4, where we are going to get clear the day before. Well, let's actually take it back to Wednesday night. Wednesday night, we talked about our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal. And then last night, we went through a root cause analysis. What is preventing us as instructional leaders from achieving that goal? And we primarily focused on either campus culture or tier 1 instruction. So tonight, we are going to get clear with the nitty gritty. We are going to talk about that focus goal. Let's make it smart. And then we are going to get into the progression for what steps does this look like as far as learning goes for the instructional leadership team. And then finally, we're going to mark out success criteria. Before we dive in, I do want to emphasize the purpose for this series. Instructional leaders, principals, administrators, instructional coaches, specialists, coordinators, exceptional teachers, and extraordinary students begin with you. If you are not aligned in your vision, in your work, in your expectations, you're not going to experience the growth that your teachers and your students deserve. So that's the reason we're doing this, right? We need to make sure that we are all moving in the same direction. I'm not even talking about campuses right now. I'm talking about leadership. We have to move in the same direction. You know, we get coaches for teachers. We talk about coaching for teachers, administrators. We got to coach one another too. So let's get clear tonight with our goals. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you real quick. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to take that BHAG and we're going to make it a focus goal. And then we're going to look at our progression of learning and then finally success criteria. And for my teacher clarity friends out there, do you notice what I'm doing? I'm treating it like a standard, like a content standard. We are diving into our content standard, which is our goal. So let's look at this. Our category of focus is our focus goal. We're going to look at that progression and data for success. I already said that to you. So last night, what we came up with was our focus goal, and that was teachers will be united with instructional strategies and feel supported by administration. Now, notice here in this focus goal, I do mention teachers, but as I mentioned earlier, exceptional teachers and extraordinary students begin with leadership. You can do all the trainings in the world with teachers, 20 million trainings. But if your administrative team is not all on the same page with those instructional strategies and supporting teachers with those instructional strategies, guess what's going to happen? More stress, more overwhelm, more disconnection. So it's all backed by the administration. So let's look at the progression. This was really just a brainstorm from last night. This doesn't mean that this is the correct way. This doesn't mean that it's going to fit your campus. You need to go through this process with your leadership team. So principals, hear me again. You need to go through this process with your leadership team. You have your focus goal, your big, hairy, audacious goal. You want everyone united with instructional strategies and supported by administration. That means everyone's on the same page with it. Story time real quick before we get into the progression. I have worked alongside numerous administrators when we start going into classrooms and they talk about amazing instruction. And some administrators will see a classroom, and because the students are compliant, they feel like it's an amazing lesson. Oh, it must be amazing. These instructional strategies must be awesome. Learning must be happening because all the kids are compliant. That doesn't mean squat. Kids can be compliant and learning still not occur. And that is why all administrators must be instructional leaders. All administrators must be instructional leaders. Long gone are the days where we should have principals only focus on administration. Some principals only focus on behavior, and some focus on instruction. No, nada, zilch. You all need to focus on all of it, because guess what? Instruction impacts behavior. Instruction impacts attendance. So stop siloing them. They need to come together. Off my soapbox. Here we go. So here's my progression for learning. The very first step that leadership needs to do is calibrate understanding of instructional strategies. Compliance does not equate learning. That doesn't necessarily mean a great class is going on. And you know what? A lot of kids talking and having fun doesn't equate learning either. So we really need to calibrate our expectations, and our students deserve that. Highest level of rigor, all students can get there. It's the strategies. When we diversify our strategies, we can get any student there. So, instructional practices, calibrate them, and develop a checklist for informal walks. And notice the key term here, informal. This is not something that's going to go in your LMS or your Eduphoria or your whatever your system of feedback is. It's not going in there, because that's formal. We are looking at an informal. This could be autocrated or mail merged Google Forms. This could be just an Excel spreadsheet, however you want to formulate this and what works best for your team. But there needs to be an informal checklist. Then admin, after we do that, then our admin needs to be visible in collaborative team meetings twice a week. This is I just threw a number out there. You need to look at what's realistic for your team. You need to look at what's realistic. How often do your teachers meet? So all of those things are going to come into play. In my mind, I'm looking at a team that probably meets twice. Like if the teams are having the opportunity to at least meet twice a week, then I think it's fair to say administrators can get into a different collaborative team meeting at least twice a week. I don't know why I just went all blurry, but sorry about that. The next one, it's probably because I'm moving everywhere. The next one, all admin support instruction. Like I mentioned earlier, stop segregating them. Stop having your APs only focus on behavior. That's not doing anyone any service. And you know what it's going to do? Your APs are going to be burned out, exhausted, and probably pretty negative, because guess what they're dealing with all day long? Negative things. They're the ones that are going to have parents yelling at them and screaming at them. And you know what? I'm just going to say right now, if you are a parent watching this for some reason, you're not in education, stop blaming the schools. Stop blaming the teachers. Take care of your kids. I'm off of my soapbox right now. But here's the deal. You will burn out your APs faster than anything if their only responsibility is behavior. How miserable. Like, think about it. If all day long you were getting on to people and then getting cussed at and yelled at by parents, you'd be miserable in your job. Stop segregating it. All APs, all academic deans or deans of instruction, all KED principals should be instructional leaders, every single one of them. Admin in 3 classrooms a day. And that doesn't mean a full, long, blown out time. I get it. Administrators, you're busy. You have a lot of competing priorities. But visibility is one of the number one factors that will influence your campus culture and improve student behavior, because you're visible. So if you want your teachers to trust you and respect you, you need to be visible. And I'm not talking about just one section of the school. I'm talking about everywhere. So 3 classrooms a day. Pop in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just stand there. Just sit in the back, stand in the back, help out, whatever it is, just go in 3 times a day. And then admin shares instructional observations once a week with the leadership team. So once a week, we are going to meet, and guess what? Every administrator or instructional coach or specialist, whatever your team, however your team is comprised, will share their work, because that's the accountability piece. We got to make it happen. Now, of course, there are instances, there might be times, but if every single week you can't get into a classroom, campus principal, head principal, right now, that's on you. You have a flaw in your system. You got to look at it, do a root cause analysis of what is happening. All right, next step. Data for success. So I'm looking at my very first progression. Numero uno, the first one that we came up with was that administration has to calibrate. They have to calibrate their understanding of instructional practices. It is not okay if one administrator feels like, oh, the kids are all quiet and listening. That must be an amazing lesson. No, that doesn't necessarily mean learning is occurring. So as an administrative team, you have to calibrate your understanding. What should it look like and sound like and feel like whenever you walk into those classrooms? You all need to be on the same page. And I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, even among teachers, there is a different view of what engagement looks like. For your campus, you need to come up with that definition. What does it look like, sound like, and feel like? Then let's look at our data for success. Admin can articulate best practices to teachers and leadership teams, and not just your dean of instruction, not just your instructional coaches, your assistant principals and your campus principal. Everyone can articulate best practices. And if I went to one principal and then I went to the other one, they'd be saying the same thing because they calibrated it. And then admin shares the same academic and pedagogical language. They're using the same jargon. Again, whatever is conducive to your campus, maybe it looks different for your district, but you're using the same jargon and there's the same understanding of that strategy, content. We're stronger together than we are apart. Admin observational notes and feedback are aligned. So we don't have 20 million systems. I did say your informal observational feedback should not be in your summative programs. So if you're in Eduphoria camp, do not put your informal in Eduphoria. Use an informal system so that teachers see it as a coaching process, not a summative. This isn't anything that's going on a record. This is just, hey, me giving you that opportunity for feedback. Teachers note they have seen all administrators in their classroom, not just the administrators that are evaluating them. You don't want administrators, if I would hate it if the only administrator that came into my classroom was an administrator who evaluated me, because then walkthroughs do feel summative in nature. All administrators in the same direction, all administrators working together. And here's why. Like, I kind of want to shape your understanding of this. When we look at professional learning communities, all means all. So if I'm looking at a professional learning community of teachers, when we look at data, all means all. The kids that are sitting in my classroom are also your kids. Your kids are also my kids. We're going to work together to grow them. Same thing with administrators. Your leadership team is a PLC. It's a professional learning community. So all means all. Your teachers are my teachers and my teachers are your teachers, and we are working together to grow them. So notice what I've done here. I'm going to go back to the previous slide. I have taken our focus goal. I have looked at the progression of learning. This is what my admin team needs to do to get there. I have taken this very first bullet point and created data for success. And once we get that rocking and rolling, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to work on this one, admin, visible, and collaborative meetings. And so then I might have to rearrange some schedules, and I might have to rework some meetings, and I might have to look at lunch duty a little differently. But I am going to look at my systems and procedures to make sure that this can happen. So we're taking each progression of learning and creating our data for success. And like I said earlier, this is essentially unpacking standards. We are taking the teacher clarity process and we are unpacking our big, hairy, audacious goals as campus leaders. So that's all I have for you tonight, my friends. Join me tomorrow night for our final installment where we talk about accountability and a balance of responsibilities. And like I had mentioned last night, I'm going to go ahead and tell you again, remember, Unify your team for success. I am hosting free coaching session, Stop the Chaos. Sign up today. It's for free. It's not going to last for long. If you want a free coaching session, so I can walk you through this process and support you individually. So go ahead, sign up today at bit.ly/Stop Chaos 24. And it is case sensitive. But I'll tell you this right now, just scroll down to the show notes on YouTube and you'll see the links. So I'll see you tomorrow night, my friends. And until next time, have a wonderful evening.